Rami, my friend, how are you?
I'm very good. How you doing?
I'm well, my brother. Thanks for coming on. This is always a pleasure. You know, I love spending time with you.
Yo, I got this new microphone. I think I'm gonna sound immaculate.
You sound incredibly good. How do I sound?
Immaculate.
We love to see it. Rami, give us a little intro for the stream. I've directed people to go and watch the show. Give us an intro into you and Quiro.
Absolutely. So my name is Rami. I'm the co-founder CEO of a data analytics SaaS called Querio, an AI data analytics SaaS, obviously. And we are the easiest way for teams to work with data directly, and we use AI agents to directly query databases so that people don't have to learn how to use SQL or bother their data teams. Lebanese. I've lived in London for about 3 years, and I'm very lucky to know Viraj for the last couple months.
I'm lucky to know Rami. This is gonna be a lot of fun. I saw the post on OpenAI or on ChatGPT recommending
Mm,
Querio
yeah,
as a SaaS solution.
mm.
Can you explain to me how you've done this, please?
I'm going to release a blog post today, actually, telling people how to hack the system. But yeah, they're calling it AEO or GEO or whatever you want. But there's a few sneaky ways to get AI systems to recommend you to their customers. Now, problem, I don't know how deep you want to go into this, but
Let's get all the way deep. That's what we're here for. We've got half an hour, and then I know you've got to jump, so I'm going to take it as it comes.
yeah, do you want like the whole thing, start to finish?
Yes,
Right.
please.
Yeah. So, okay, these systems do web searches whenever there's a prompt. They have their core data that they were trained on, and but a lot of the time when you're asking someone like what's the best data tool, startup data tool, whatever it is, they have to do a web search. And these systems literally will use Brave, or they'll use Bing, or they'll use Google, and they'll do some web searches and they will look for things. So first and foremost, you know, you need to one have a lot of content out about what you do. Your website, there, I'm trying to say organized. There's so many things. First of all, different AI tools use different things. So I think let me actually pull up this blog post I'm writing so I can tell you exactly who uses what. But some of them prefer Reddit, some of them prefer LinkedIn, some of them prefer TechCrunch.
And so they're
Um,
actively going and scraping those platforms and then
yeah. Well, they'll
surfacing
do a
that when you
website and
search.
like they'll do a Google search of like best data tools inside TechCrunch or something, and look only for TechCrunch results, for instance. But I'll give you some more actual. So yeah, ChatGPT likes TechCrunch, Business Insider, and GitHub. Claude likes Wikipedia, Forbes, Stack Overflow. Perplexity likes Reddit, LinkedIn posts, and YouTube transcripts. Google obviously likes Google. And then they each use different indexes. So ChatGPT loves using Bing because they're owned by Microsoft. So you should be on Bing SEO if you want ChatGPT to see you. Claude uses the Brave browser. Perplexity does an internal internet crawl like on a bunch of different things. And then Google Gemini obviously uses Google. So most people who used to do SEO never actually looked at Bing's SEO, but you could use things like Index Now is the name from Bing, where it can automatically like submit your sitemap to Bing all the time. So if you're unfamiliar with what a sitemap is, basically you should always, whether it's on Google SEO or Bing SEO, you should submit your sitemap, which is usually automatically created from things like Framer, but you might have to make one. And it basically gives these search engines the map to how to crawl through your website. So like the homepage connects to these sub pages, which connect to these sub pages, and it just kind of gives a breakdown of all the pages on your website. So making sure that Bing and Google have your sitemap means that you're going to get all your pages crawled with those systems, and then that'll make it easier for you to actually show up. You have tools like I think it's called indexrusher.com. Yes, indexrusher.com, not affiliated with them, but you pay like $50 one time and they will make sure every day to submit all of your links to Google and Bing for you, for instance, if you wanted to do
And then
that.
that's just ongoing.
Yes. So
Really interesting.
different search engines are used by different models, so that's one. Some of the criteria they're used by both. Now, let's get into what it means for AI to look you up. So an
Hmm.
AI versus Google is quite interesting thing. So Google has like page rankings. You can see how
Hmm.
you slowly are recommended for certain terms, and you go from like 30th page, 20th page, 50. You don't have that with ChatGPT, right? It is ruthless. It gives an average of 5 recommendations. There aren't no
That's
pages.
it.
Yeah, you get 5. That's it. Now, um, I think it depends who. So Copilot from what is it? Copilot from Google uses, I think, up to 7. ChatGPT uses 5. Claude gives you up to 4 responses, but generally it's like 4 to 7 recommendations when you ask. Now, whenever you're going to use tools to see like how you're getting AI to access your website, you need to not get confused that when an AI is scraping your site because someone had a web search, it doesn't mean that it's going to use your site in the answer. So
Why
there's
is
three
that?
things. Well, it could have gone to your website and be like, okay, I'm not going to recommend this.
Okay.
You don't know. It could use some sort of like blog article that you have. Like I have a lot of blog articles that compare my competitors to myself, and I might use those blog articles just to learn more about that competitor and then only talk about them.
I see.
So
Okay.
you have the actual crawling of your website by these models, then you have the amount that they cite you. Usually, if they crawl you, they're going to cite you if they use you in any sort of way. And then you have them actually recommending you. And it's you could find out if you're getting access like a real person or whether it's the robot. There's some websites that help you do that. But so you have to kind of keep in mind that you can be a cited source, and that means you got web search and then you got cited like from, I made this answer from these 5 sources, and you see like the +5 button and you click it and you'll see, or you can see in like the reasoning thing, like all the websites that access, you can be cited or you could be an inline answer. The dream is to be an inline answer. But a lot of the inbound I get from AI most of the time is just being a cited source.
And that inbound, are those qualified leads, so to speak, or are they just not intent at all? Or just people just looking at what
Well,
what a
again,
good
it's
unstructured
hard
tool
right now. And
does?
this is where my knowledge gets a bit shaky. But like, most of the inbound is just an AI scraping my website. It's not a real person, and it's hard to know how often you're recommended inline.
So what would you need to see? You would need to see the person instead of just the percentage that you're seeing. And so maybe you actually see the amount of users that are querying versus just a percentage of how many times you showed up.
Yeah, so I think you can see how often you have like ChatGPT.com accessing your website, which will usually mean that it is a crawler. And I think there's probably some way to figure out if someone came from there, and like there's a kind of a different URL they access, or maybe that they came from ChatGPT, but then they actually scrolled around and went to more than one page in that same session. That's probably how you can differentiate that someone's a real person. But it's a bit hard to track whether you are an inline answer. And then you have companies like Profound who do this kind of hacky thing where you'll tell them the top 10 prompts that you want to rank for, and they will just ask that same prompt 1,000 times to ChatGPT.
Oh, so it's just like a prompt factory. They just sit there and just churn them out.
Yeah, to see how you rank with ChatGPT. Yeah, because they can't actually track when it uses inline answers. So they'll do that instead.
Very interesting. So what is it moving forward? What do you want from ChatGPT, or what do you want from these companies to see from your end as a business?
Man, there's so many more things to this. Like you have the fact that if you're a startup and you ask ChatGPT what are the best startups for data analytics, it'll go to Crunchbase and it'll only filter for startups that have raised at least a seed. So
Ooh, okay.
Query won't show up because we didn't raise a seed yet, which is really
Right.
annoying. And then something you can do if you want to get better at, this is one thing I do a lot, which is I will ask ChatGPT like a prompt I like what are the best kind of text to SQL or like AI business intelligence tools. It'll give me the responses, and I'm like, okay, I want you to break down in as much detail as possible your exact web searches and how you found these recommendations. And it'll tell me, okay, I did a web search into these 5 sites. I looked into Crunchbase, I looked into this, I looked into that. Here are the actual keywords I use. Here are the actual search terms I use. And then you can
And
take
so
those
it breaks
and
it
go
down for you,
make,
then you can.
yes, and you can go make articles from them, or you can feed them into an AI slot machine that makes articles, whatever it is. So that's something I think that had a very large effect for me, was using that system to make more and more directly related articles. That way, if it looked on Google for that exact keyword term, I would come up because it's a niche set of words that now I have an exact article for, which is really nice. They also don't usually look at your website if you don't have pricing. They are less likely to recommend a website with no pricing. They're less likely to recommend a website that has not had a seed round. They're definitely not going to recommend a website that is not indexed for Bing and Google. And then they will look at things like G2, Gartner, TechCrunch, Reddit, LinkedIn, etc. So all those more like dark SEO stuff before, of like all those random backlinks so you can become on the first page of Google, doesn't work as well because they're looking for very exact things, and they're doing like more robust searches of like in website with search term this plus that kind of thing. So all that kind of stuff kind of goes down the drain a bit, and a lot of the classic SEO stuff that people used to do as like hacky are gone Because then you have people who are doing really shady shit. So for instance, they all love Wikipedia. That's one of the resources everyone
Yeah, of
loves.
course it's been trained on, right?
Yeah, and they love that shit. So you see some people will like pay somebody to change a Wikipedia page who's a trusted Wikipedia editor to include a reference to a startup in like the AI page. Shady. Or you'll see the top 5 citations for a prompt you like, and then you will have someone not make a new one, but find the exact URL that they've been asking and change the content on that page and like pay that writer to keep the URL but change the content to be about you.
And
There's
so we're going
still
back to these dark pools of SEO. It's just a
there's
different version of
always
it now.
yeah. There's always shady stuff.
Are you going to be prioritizing this as like a go-to-market strategy for content?
Yes and no. I'm doing a lot of SEO stuff already, so I think I'm going to prioritize it in a way that maximizes both. I think in 2 to 3 years, this is a losing battle.
Mm-hmm.
I think that once all the big guys figure things out and it's pay to play and then there's advertisement and things like that, I'm not going to be able as a pre-seed startup to get into TechCrunch and Wikipedia and have a ton of responses on Reddit. Like you will definitely see kind of like asymmetrical winners, right? But I think for the next couple of years, I don't know how it's going to end up patching on. I can't see the future, right? But like for me right now, for the next couple of years, like okay, I think I can figure this out to get some traffic. And it's citing me, and I had someone book me last week, said we found you on ChatGPT. That's amazing. But I just wonder how long I can just this is guerrilla marketing, is a startup who's moving fast, who looked into the details. I understand how these things work now, and I want to win. And I think maybe I can get enough foothold over the next 2 years and hopefully actually be a big player that has all those big articles so that I stay recommended.